What is up, guys? It is Marcus from Perspective Sports, and today we'll be discussing the potentially revolutionary Senate Bill 206 that was proposed by Senator Nancy Skinner and signed into law by California Governor Gavin Newsom that will allow players to be paid for their name, likeness, and image. And I'm going to tell you why I agree with this bill and why the NCAA should get behind it, but I am also against the New York bill that I don't think was well thought out at all. And allow me to explain. The New York bill will require schools to pay 15% of their annual revenue to the students in form of compensation. And I think that is an absolute atrocious idea. And because when you look at the smaller schools, I go to Bowie State, not Boise State. This is just my football team. But when I go to Bowie State, our annual athletic revenue is about $3.1 million. And so 15% of that is about $466,000. And then out of 225 student athletes there, that'll leave each athlete with about $33.75. You might as well just not pay them. And so that's why I am in full support of this bill, because the New York bill just doesn't take into account most schools. It takes into consideration Alabama, Ohio State, USC, Stanford, schools with a lot of money, Miami, Florida. They don't take into account the Bowie States. They don't take into account any of the smaller schools, unfortunately. So that's why I am in full support of the California bill. And this bill has been met with opposition by schools like USC and Stanford, and for obvious reasons. They feel the cost of compliance with the NCAA will rise significantly, and they feel they may actually be expelled from the NCAA, and no one wants that. And that prompted the Pac-12, which has 4 or a third of its league inside California, to release a statement saying that this bill will have very significant negative consequences. The Big Ten Commissioner Jim Delaney has also come out in opposition to this bill. And I see why they're opposed to it, because it can cause a conflict with university sponsors, create an imbalance of power because recruits will commit to places that can maximize their brand value. For example, schools like South Carolina that has had a top 25 recruiting class for the past 9 years in a row probably won't have that anymore, because players will be looking for the best marketing opportunities for their brands, and players who have decided against going to Alabama, Florida, Ohio State, etc., and went to South Carolina instead for playing time probably won't do that. They'll go to Alabama, Florida, Ohio State because the sponsor wants them there. And it creates a very top-heavy league, and it hurts the player because in the end, they probably won't get as much playing time as they want, and they don't want to transfer because they don't want to lose that sponsorship. But despite that, I'm here to explain why the NCAA and its conferences should get behind this bill, because it's the best one for everybody involved. And let's start with the most important factor. Schools can't afford to pay their athletes. And I did a project on this in my freshman year of college, and it was very unpopular amongst the class until I stated the fact that I do believe they should be able to be paid for their likeness, image, and things like that. And when you look at the numbers, in 2014, 24 FBS programs operated in a surplus, meaning the rest of the programs operated at a loss or at break even, which means that adding thousands or even millions of dollars in player salaries will force schools to cut programs or shut down their athletic program altogether, giving thousands of students, depriving thousands of students of opportunities to go to college and better themselves. And so that's why I'm against schools having to do it, because it will force them to cut sports. It'll force them to cut, some schools will cut the program altogether just because they can't afford it. And so that's why I am not for the New York bill, and why I'm not for schools having to pay the athletes directly. And then the second point is what to pay them. Due to Title IX, you can't pay one sport more than another, even if it's warranted, because it generates more revenue. And so across every sport, they will have to be compensated at the same level. And I'm using the California minimum wage of $12 an hour, and assuming that the schools follow the NCAA regulations of 20-hour practices for 4 days a week. And then they include an additional 6 hours for game day, which makes 26 hours a week of athletic participation, coming out to about $312 a week per player. And the NCAA football teams are allowed up to 105 players on the roster, meaning that the schools will have to pay $32,760 a week in player salaries, or $131,040 a month, or $1.572 million per year. And then we have men's and women's basketball combined, and I'll just use 30 players, 15 each, for this example. And that would cost schools about $9,360 a week, or $37,440 a month, or $449,280 a year. And then we're going to use men's lacrosse that are allowed 45 players on the team. That would cost $14,040 per week, or $56,160 a month, or $673,920 a year. And for those wondering why I use lacrosse, because it's the fastest growing team sport in America, and I believe that most colleges will begin to adopt a program. And for the last example, we use women's volleyball, which is allowed 15 players, and that would cost them the same as basketball, but just in half, $4,680 a week, $18,720,000 a month, or $224,640 a year. So in total, for these four sports would cost $2.92 million, and with only 24 FBS programs turning a profit, player salaries may turn most of those red and increase the burden on state taxpayers. Take my school for example, Bowie State University. Full disclosure, we do not offer lacrosse. I'll be doing the math both ways just so you can get the idea. And paying these four sports would take the school's athletic surplus of just $34,640 to a negative $2,885,360. And if you take lacrosse out, it'll bring the salaries expense from $2.92 million to about $2,246,080, and that would take the $34,640 surplus into a $2,211,440 loss. The third and final reason is that everyone wins. The schools don't have to make the decision to cut programs due to the increased operating costs because of the players' salaries, which would give kids less of an opportunity to go to college. The players are also allowed to make money off their likeness, which will match nicely with their scholarships, and the schools and conferences will be allowed to make money off their trademarks and licensings, for example, the NCAA basketball and football games, which would create another revenue stream because companies like Take-Two Interactive, the makers of 2K and Rockstar Games, and Electronic Arts will be willing to shell out major dollars to purchase the rights to make the first NCAA game in almost 6 years. And if they don't want to give exclusive rights, they'll be able to make a lot of money giving the rights to Take-Two Interactive, EA, and a lower degree of Matrix Games who just released Maximum Football, creating the ultimate college football fan experience. Well, there you guys have it. I am all behind this California bill. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I'll see you there.